in our live stream, which is Wednesday morning, right around 10:10, or you're listening on tape Saturday morning at 6 a.m. This is the Homebuyers Hour, where we are going to talk all things weather related today. I know that didn't make any sense, but we're going to make some sense of it because if you have a less than short memory, you will have recalled that we had tornadoes here in the Chicago area Sunday night and Monday night. We got back to back, and we're going to talk about how weather can relate to both a home purchase and a home sale. I've got two gentlemen here and a third gentleman out in well, he's our remote correspondent on the West Coast. I'm going to introduce. We've got Tim Heiss from Chicagoland Home Inspectors. He is our home inspection expert. We've got Jonathan Self. He is our expert realtor, real estate broker. And we got Joey Matthews, who is our mortgage broker, our man on the mean streets of, well, of the West Coast, Arizona specifically. Tim, why don't you introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about who you are, what you do, and anything else that you think is relevant.
Sounds good. Thank you, Patrick. My name's Tim Heiss. I'm a home inspector in the Chicago area. I work for Chicagoland Home Inspectors. You can reach us at phone number 312-544-9180 or check out our website at thehomeinspectors.com. Once again, that's thehomeinspectors.com. Trying to hide my Chicago accent there.
Yeah, I like how Charlie has everyone trained up on that because he's got one of the thickest Chicago accents that you can come across. So you might think it's thehomeinspectors.com, and it's not. Mm-hmm. It's thehomeinspectors.com.
Really got to enunciate the TH there.
Yeah, it's something we're all afflicted with here in the Chicago area. And yes. If in case you notice that phone number is different than is what is below Tim's smiling face there, that is if you want to contact him directly, if you just want to get away and you don't want to talk to Charlie, you want to deal with him. Tim is my favorite home inspector. I don't know if everyone is aware of that, but he's my favorite home inspector, and I hope Charlie heard that because he deserves to hear that kind of thing.
That's good, because I don't think I've made the favorite list in a while.
Well, guess what? You're on the list, baby.
All right.
Jonathan, introduce yourself, please. Tell us a little about you.
My name is Jonathan Self. I'm the realtor on the show today. I've been doing it for quite a while, probably about close to 10 years, somewhere around there, more or less. It's kind of like your birthday after 21 or whatever. You stop kind of keeping track after, the years go by. My company is Sell by Design, and those are the three things we do. Oh, are you sound effecting me? Can I get a morning show aruga? Is that labeled on your sound machine? Oh. That's me on the buy side. Mm-hmm. That's me on the buy side. But yeah, I've been to Chicago. I am a relo, so I'm still working on the Chicago accent. But I've been here 20 years now or so. But I moved every 2 years as a kid, so I'm from kind of all over. But Chicago's home, man.
You're doing a great job with it.
Thank
you. Don't let anyone tell you that you can't garage key it up with the best of them.
You can come hang in my front room anytime.
We've all been on Chicago TikTok. Joey Matthews, the VA loan nerd. Tell us about you. Tell us about your website, your brand new spanking, pearly, sparkling website. And then I want to hear about interest rates. Ooh.
Yeah, no, that sounds super sexy. Anyway, Joey Matthews, the VA loan nerd. You can call or text me at 630-235-2405. You can find me at thevaloannerd.com or across all the social medias as at the VA Loan Nerd. What is going on in the world of the, rate market? I've been actually more looking at the S&P and the NASDAQ taking a nosedive today, but that's okay. So, CPI came in super hot. Super light. Consumer Price Index, right? The cost of goods month over month is actually negative for the first time since the pandemic, which is it's not it's a good thing for the rate market. We'll call it that, right? The Producer Price Index came in slightly hot, but previous months got revised down, so that was more or less a wash. The mortgage-backed securities market saw a big boost in pricing from all things told. So we have seen rate relief over the last week or so. Yesterday, retail sales came in. They came in as expected, which was flat, which was better than last month, which came in negative. And the month prior to that was also flat. So retail sales, keep not spending money, people. Keep not spending money. It's doing good things for the economy. The big concern is the jobs market. Jay Powell, he spoke, was it over the weekend? And he said that he would be looking at cutting rates probably in the September meeting. Right now, they are futures traders are pricing in a 90% probability of a Fed fund rate cut at the September meeting, and then a 50% probability of additional cuts in November and also in December, both at 50%. What does that mean? It means that your competition in the buyer's market just grew, because as rates go down, your competition floods the market. So if you if you were on the fence, I mean, I apologize for the additional buyers you're now competing with. But yeah, that's the happy-go-lucky world of mortgage world today.
Well, that sounds like fun for you. You get to write even more pre-approvals that are never going to see the light of day once they get submitted to a listing broker.
I have a dude right now. He's been making aggressive offers, solid offers. Like, I don't even know what else. Like, he's doing freaking appraisal gaps. He's doing, 100% tax prorations rather than 105. Like, he's doing everything that he can. And he's probably 40 offers in. He's going above ask. He's doing escalation clauses. He's doing everything. Guy's like 40 offers in, has not got a deal accepted yet. It's insane.
That's brutal. Insane. That's brutal. I mean,
I've never seen anything like it.
40 is what market is he shopping at?
He's north side, north suburbs, but like a 400K price point. So it's like just all of the competition.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to sound awfully arrogant of me. I mean, but just about everyone out there who's searching for homes is going to be able to afford in that range, and so, you'd rather be somewhere higher up that you're starting to filter out at least some of the people that can't afford it, what you can afford, and especially in that part, in that area of the Chicago, in that part of Chicago. Yeah, there's just going to be a lot of people especially if you've got young kids and you're looking to put them in school soon. Those are parts of Chicago that have really competitive public schools, and that's going to put even more pressure.
Agreed. Dude, that's true. I mean, yeah, it's wild. I feel like somehow again we're running into cash offers left and right. So maybe, I don't know. Maybe seeing the Nasdaq and the S&P take a little dive today, maybe some of that cash will go away.
I don't know about that. I'm gonna toss a softball question up, but Jonathan, when you think cash offers and them being prevalent, I mean, what's the first thing that comes to mind as far as what that says about the market?
Not too much. I mean, we've been basically at like 25, 26% pretty consistently on cash offers for a few years, at least 2, maybe 3 years now, if I'm not mistaken. So, I mean, that contingent's always been out there. That money's there. I was thinking, if, and I guess we're not done yet, but should we hit an actual big boy recession, to borrow a term from Biden,
a big boy
recession, money tends to flow out of those markets into real estate. So I would expect to see even more cash if something, went south in a big way. But right now, you're just always kind of competing with, a quarter of people out there who got cash, and there are some tricks that you can pull. There's a handful of things you can do, but ultimately there are certain things it's just, it's going to be out of your hands. You may not be able to compete with, monopoly man.
Yeah, I mean, that's all fair enough. And it, in my opinion, and Joey, you'll like to hear this. In my opinion, cash is not really as attractive as people think it is. The fact of the matter is, and especially if you've got someone like Joey who's going to be doing the loan, most loans close, and by and large, the average person making an offer on your property with financing, the less that they're putting down, the more they'll generally be willing to offer to offset that. And for me, money's money. If I'm a seller, I'll take the money. Now, the one thing that is going to be brought up whenever I, say something like that is, what about the appraisal? Well, what about the appraisal? In other words, are we that worried? If an appraisal comes in low, okay, fine, but it's not happening a whole lot these days. I mean, Joey, are you seeing a lot of low appraisals, at the moment compared to, I don't know, 2019 perhaps?
I wouldn't say no. I would say it's about the same. I mean, I would say about 10% of appraisals in general just come in low.
Really? That's a lot higher than I would expect to hear.
I mean, 1 in 10. I think that's a fair number. And honestly, with the appraisal gaps that have been getting offered on most deals, they're not coming in so low that they're killing deals. So it's really a non-starter, even if they do come in a little bit low. And when I say they're coming in low, I mean they're not super low. I'm not seeing, hey guys, we're like 20% short on this. It's really to kill the deal. I mean, maybe 10 grand, 15 grand, but nothing that's going to kill the deal.
Interesting. The 10, 15 grand's not killing deals. That's boy.
Not with the appraisal gap waivers, man. And I'm not going to approve something that can't close with the appraisal gap waiver.
Yeah. I mean, Jonathan, that sort of leads me, to think to myself, how do you deal with those kinds of things on your end? I mean, of course, you're always going to be thinking about, how are we going to sweeten the deal? As an appraisal gap waiver, does that make sense here? How do you kind of try to fortune tell as far as whether that's going to, make sense in the end?
I think maybe the best way to answer that question is, the way I tend to do it, the way I tend to work with clients is, there are certain consistent concerns that clients have from one side of the fence on the buy side to the other side of the fence on the sell side. And when I'm working with buyers, the way I like to put it is, this is what I think this place is worth empirically. This is what I think this place might sell for empirically. Anything over, now we're in a multiple offer situation, unfortunately, and I've got to deliver that news to my clients. Anything over X is emotional money. I can tell you, hey, empirically, this is how much I think this is worth, and I think it would probably go for more than it's worth. It might be still appraised, but you need to know that after you cross X thresholds, you are now spending emotional money. Because if you want to go and throw an appraisal waiver out and you have that means and that ability, you still need to know kind of what the governor is for your client, what they're going to feel comfortable. Because sometimes the dog catches the car, and then you're in a really weird situation where you've got to advocate for your client who wants out of a deal. And you let them get in that deal and then have an existential freak out because you didn't not pressure them, but you didn't kind of talk through the likely scenarios. You didn't spend time to get to know that client and their real fears and their real concerns. So a lot of it is, you can throw that appraisal waiver in there, but what is your real, regret number here, And if I come to you a few weeks later and this thing sold for, $400 more than what you offered, are you going to be mad at me or yourself, or what are those feelings going to be like? And then we find that number and we kind of build the strategy around what that is, and we try to sweeten it as much as possible. That's in, and on the sales side, cash is nice, but ultimately it's going to be cash in your account when we close, regardless. So what are the things that we're concerned about on the list side, and can we get those checked off with a buyer who's going to get it done, with a team who's going to get done, with somebody that we like, that matters, because even though we've got an offer or maybe it's all cash, we're quite a ways away from the finish line. So my job is to kind of set those expectations. All the things that I've seen, I'm telling clients, these are the things that could go south on us, and these are the failure points, and this is what we're going to do to mitigate against that. And that's how that conversation goes.
Yeah, it's just strategic discussions.
Yeah.
And look, sometimes people do make mistakes, right? And then they come to Tim and they go, Tim, I need you to find me $15,000 worth of stuff to ask for because I think I've overpaid.
Yeah.
Tell me about how those conversations go.
Well, I mean, my first thought I've got, when I'm hearing this is just I'm getting worried that, the market's going to get so hot that people are going to start putting in offers, skipping inspections, and ending up with a lemon. And
yeah, don't do that, by the way.
Yes,
like as is fine. It still means you get to do an inspection.
Yes,
get that expert.
It'll still cover
set eyeballs on it.
Health and safety items. But when people come to me, it's we see people want. It's our job kind of to explain to people, like, there are certain items in a home that, need to be updated at different intervals. And, certain homes you might be moving in with brand new mechanical appliances. You might be moving into a home with 20-year-old mechanical appliances that are going to need, $10, $15, $20,000 in the next couple of years. So
It's usually the second one.
yes, yes. There's some times where, some people take really good care of their homes and others don't really. They just.
It's just a place to live.
I like to think that they're just not educated on how they're supposed to do it. So, that's one thing that, I look to make sure that we do is try and leave them with the information of what they need to do, to take care of their home. So when they do eventually sell it, it's in good shape and they don't have to worry about, getting, multiple offers walking on them.
Yeah, the thing that comes to mind, when you end up overpaying or spending more than you anticipated for a home because you got into that emotional space, it's not necessarily going to impact you from the start, because you're probably going to be shopping, especially if you're not using cash. If you're using financing, you're going to be shopping in a lot of ways based on that monthly payment. Where that's going to impact you is 5 to 7 years down the line when you go to sell, and your sale price as opposed to what you paid for it, it's not going to be what you were hoping for.
Yeah, the money's made on the buy, as we say, And to your point, people do throw offers at my clients. They're like, "Hey, we're going to waive inspection," or my clients might look at me and be like, my buddy waived this, but should I do that? I'm like, hey, no, absolutely not. In my opinion, it's great if somebody wants to offer that. You're showing you're aggressive, but you're also showing that you may be a little desperate. You may be a little crazy. Your agent's not advising you. There is no earthly reason a seller, no matter how sweet the deal is, should want a buyer to waive inspection. That is an immediate. That's something I'll give you as is, and I can explain those terms, which is scary to people. But once you have to remind, you still get an inspection. And you should. Anybody wants you to buy a place, sans inspection smells real bad to me. I do not. My senses are. I'm already the paid paranoid. We just flew off the radar on the one-on waive inspection. I would not want a buyer to do it. I would not want a seller to accept it. That's a little too good to be true. It usually is. That's somebody who's going to come in really hot and leave just as hot, and we don't want that.
Well, I'll tell you a quick story that you just reminded me of. I had a friend. She's also a real estate lawyer, and it just so happened her parents were looking to buy a co-op out in the suburbs, but timing-wise, she wasn't able to handle it, so she sent the contract over to me, and she was like, "Hey, can you take a look at this? I'm about to get on a plane to Australia, and it's extremely time sensitive." I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I look at the contract, and there's no inspection contingency. There's no provision for attorney review. There was no real any provision for a financing contingency. I'm just like, understand what you're signing if you sign this document, which is you're going to go in there and, if you so desperately want it at this price, then, I'm not going to tell you not to do it. But there are certain, what I would consider essential elements of the due diligence that you're foregoing by signing this contract. And they opted not to sign it, even though under the circumstances, this was a community they're looking to retire. This is the community they want to retire in. It's not often that these properties come up for to be available even in this community. They ended up skipping it. They didn't submit the offer, which you feel a little bit guilty even when they take that advice, because you're like, boy, if that's their dream place to live, what have I done? I come to find out though, a week later, that actually the two other competing offers withdrew and didn't submit the offer on that contract form for the same reasons I had articulated. This is a bad idea, which gave me a lot of reassurance that I'd given the right advice there.
That sounds like a good example of people making an emotional decision rather than analytical. So sometimes doing inspections, I kind of see that as part of my job is sometimes slowing people down a little bit and showing the facts of laying everything out. If this is what the condition is right here.
I think we're often, the brakes to people's gas. The client has the ability and the pleasure to think about all the happy things and the excitement. They are not looking at the pitfalls and the concerns and 10 years down the road necessarily. That's what I'm getting paid for, and we're maybe in a heated situation and the lender wants it to happen and the mom wants it to, whatever the situation. I will say these are the levers that I can see on the board. These are the moves you have on the board. You may not want to pull all those levers. In fact, there's a couple levers I really don't guarantee. I really wish you wouldn't pull, but it's my job to tell you that it's there. It is a family decision on what you want to do from there on. But I kind of lay out like if this then that scenarios for whatever is applicable for this situation. But ultimately, it's up to the client, and they just need to fully comprehend, which is where the educational component is really. So you need somebody to explain it to you, so you don't feel talked down to or stupid. But you're on the same team. Coach analogy kind of works there a little bit. You're going to go in here. This is what I would say. This is how I would do it. You can do this, but it leaves you exposed to whatever this is, or our inspector's going to come and he's going to point it out. Don't look at me like it's the first time you heard it, because I told you right now, it's the first thing I'm pointing out to this dude when he gets here. And they're like, okay, I get it. Yeah,
Yeah, we've worked together on a handful of transactions, and I know that you've got a lot of materials that you provide to your clients as far as expectation setting, which I think really is important for people, because I can't tell you how many times the question gets asked. So how does this process work, or what's next, or what do we do now? And it's like, I'm happy to answer that question, but these are also questions that
is it just coming up now at attorney review?
Yeah. To be honest, here's a question I'm sure all of us get, and I'm going to toss it out there and just kind of get y'all's reaction on it. The question, and it'll come up in any number of ways, but it's something along the lines of, well, what would you do if you were in my shoes on this one? Essentially, they're not sure what to do, and so they kind of want you to substitute your judgment for theirs. How do you react to that question? What do you do? I mean, do you answer truthfully? I mean, I know I steer out of that question because for the exact reasons I just articulated. But how do you address a question like that?
I want to hear Tim. I'm interested in you because I see it happen, because I know how I handle it and what comes up. But as the agent, I see something go down or something get uncovered in real time and space that maybe escaped us or we didn't. And then you get the question in real time.
I get it
that's
all the
tight.
time.
That's a weird situation where
I get the question all the time of would you buy this house? And
oh no!
You know what?
Literally a question you cannot answer.
I cannot answer that question, but there are things that I can say. I'm like, what? There are issues with this house.
Every house has issues.
Yes, and what I tell people is, how comfortable are you doing projects? Like myself, I'm a project person. I like doing things. Some people do not like, looking for contractors, things like this. But, they ask this question, and basically all I can tell them is like, listen, here are some of the issues. They need repair. They will need repair soon. I can give you kind of rough estimates of what the dollar amounts of what these repairs would cost. And that's the information I'm going to give you in a report. And you and your agent can use that to negotiate or, talk to your agent about guidance on, how to move forward with the deal.
Yeah, I want to emphasize something here because something you said just sort of triggered me. And Jonathan, maybe you have an opinion on this. A lot of inspectors really don't want to go there when it comes to, well, how much do you think it would cost to do this repair or do that? Or even, hey, do you know someone who, does plumbing or does, roof or whatever? I know you and the rest of the Chicagoland Home Inspectors team are more than willing to provide the information that you have about that. A lot of inspectors are like, no, I'm not going there.
I kind of give some general ballparks to people, but, just from talking to contractors in the Chicago area, roofing contractors in Northbrook, charge a lot different fees than contractors on the south side of the city.
For sure.
So what's the exact number? Like, there really isn't, a true number to give someone.
I had a conversation with sort of a whale client a few months back in the Lincoln Park area, and he was asking a lot of questions about what it would cost to do the X, Y, and Z. And I had to be frank with him, like, this is what it costs ballpark. He's like, but I guarantee you, this guy pulls up in the Gold Coast, sees his address, comes to your meeting, you're gonna get a specific price, and you're not gonna like it. That's just the way the hustle works.
Yes.
But to that question of like, hey, what would you do? What did you buy this house? I think that's why it's such an important soft skill in this business to really understand. I get existential real quick with clients because you really need to understand how much money they really bring to the table. What is your, what is your rehab tolerance? You got a handy uncle? Do you got a buddy in the trades? Like, what are we working with as far as skills and resources? If I know they're starting a new job immediately and they don't have time. I already know. Then if I know they're expecting, I listen. I know that we can get a good deal here, and all we got to do is fix this pink bathroom. But this is only a 1-bath place, and I know the baby's due. And I'm gonna tell you right now, what you don't want, is a bathroom out of commission when you're up at 2 a.m. trying to feed a baby. So, I've been there, done that. And so having to take the time to slow down, get to know this person, understand where they're coming at mentally, what their concerns are, how this house is going to function and support them in their life goals is so paramount. Yes. So you can give advice on, like, if I were you, if it was it was my dead grandmama's money, I would feel good about this. Yes. You need to know all that. It's not just a transactional. So when you're doing high volume or just transact, like that's a method. You can do that, but I think you're doing a disservice to the person who's leaning on you for your expertise, because you really need a full picture as much as they will let you in. And make a joke about it up front. I'm up in your life. I need to know your hopes, your dreams, your aspirations. I need all that stuff, so I can help you guys come to the right answer for your family, because everyone's different.
Yes.
Like, I may not advise one client to buy that house, but if I know this guy's dad, it was worked in the trade for a few years, and I've gone out with him, and I've seen his ability to read homes, and I can talk to that person differently than this lady who has a different, things going on with her life. It's same house, 2 very different levels of, happiness after I do this deal. And I need that referral.
Yeah.
I need them. I don't need an awkward call 45 days later, like, how's the house? And they're like, oh my gosh, it's haunted as hell. Why didn't you say something? Well, we talked about this at breakfast. Like, I need to know,
Yeah. When someone asks me that question, what I'm hearing you say is, it's not really a relevant question to answer. It's like, what would I do? Well, I'm me. And I have my own specific set of strengths, weaknesses. I have my own criteria, and so rather than try to answer this question and just answer it in a straightforward manner, like you're asking me to, let's kind of drill down and answer the real question, which is, does this house, does this home match the criteria that I need it to?
Yeah, and I think that's also understanding some importance of, like, behavioral psychology on, like, how people process information and the kind of short-sightedness that people tend to, make decisions based on. When hey, our plan is that you were going to take that job in Germany, in maybe 8 years, and I was like, I'm telling you right now, looking at the neighborhood and the markets, and they're like, I don't think this is going to appreciate past, and so we need to find, this is not it. And they're, oh yeah, you're right. That's the main goal. And they go back to, because they get really excited about the kitchen cabinets, and you got to bring it back down to remember when you told me this thing, and it can change. You need to give people the grace and the ability to have that change happen and occur without feeling bad about it. Give them that space, but based on what I know, you said last week, blah 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 blah. So did that change because? Blah, 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 blah. So that's how that conversation happens.
I'm not who I was last week.
Yeah, I've had a couple situations where, just one more quick thing, a couple situations where, some people were, emotionally invested in, this single family home, and we walk through, and I'm just kind of just showing them all the maintenance they're going to need to do. It's like, siding's in terrible shape. You're going to have to need new siding. You need a new roof really soon. And then 2 months later, I get a call for another inspection from the same clients, and they're moving into a condo.
Ooh.
People were not ready to take on, full responsibility of a home. And they realized that, for them, something like an HOA management, that's a better situation. So,
Yeah, it doesn't happen often. I've seen that as well, where people sort of they learn something about themselves.
yeah.
All right, let's stick a pin in that conversation because I could chop that up all day long, and we don't want to go too far astray on the topic that I teased at the very beginning. Before we do that though, let's all introduce ourselves for the people that were not listening at the top of the hour. Jonathan.
It was at the top of the hour.
All right, there we go.
Top of the hour to you.
Yeah.
Jonathan, go ahead and introduce yourself.
My name is
please.
Jonathan Self. I own Sell by Design. You can find me on really TikTok, I suppose. Sell by Design. Do a little Instagram, but that's not really my bag. Been a realtor in Chicago for almost 10 years now, more or less. My background is also, I come from kind of construction design as well. So per your last conversation we were talking about, it's really nice to be able to have a direct line into what things are going for, what things cost, and provide that.
You kind of have a secret weapon, don't you?
Oh yeah, I put a ring on my secret weapon. That's how I roll.
Yeah, when you say you can be found mainly on TikTok, Jonathan's great on TikTok, and I understand why he's not particularly fond of Instagram. He's not a man that can be constrained by 90 seconds. That's just not. It's not the vibe. It's not the vibe. If you want, really thoughtful takes on real estate and adjacent topics, that's what you're going to get. And 90 seconds ain't enough.
Yeah, I also don't spell. I spell at like a second grade level. It's a disability thing. That's straight up. Like if you're a client that's going to bother you, I need you to look past the the basic grammar spelling situation and just listen to me.
I think we're all in the same boat. I mean, I went from being like a third grade spelling bee champion to a spell check has basically ruined my ability. I'm like Eve before I.
How the mighty have fallen. Where was your third grade?
If my third
You
grade
had so
teacher
much
could see me
potential.
now. I still have that trophy.
Yeah.
Tim, introduce yourself for us.
How you doing? I'm Tim Heiss. I'm a home inspector in the Chicagoland area. I work for Chicagoland Home Inspectors. We service everywhere inside Chicago, all the outlying suburbs. We try to aim to be one of the most thorough inspections in the area. We try to go above and beyond as much as possible to try and give everyone as clear of a picture of what they're buying.
Literally get on the roof. I mean, you don't get much more above than that.
On the roof. We go from top down into the basement, crawl spaces everywhere.
Ugh. Some of the things you find in crawl spaces.
Ooh, yeah. Some of them aren't fun. Luckily, we don't have the ones like they have down south. Like most of the homes in the city have basements here. So,
My dad laid cable growing up for a while in Arkansas. That's a lot of scorpions and snakes.
Ooh,
It's-
Thanks, no.
Yeah, no. Big shout out to the builders back over 100 years ago that decided they wanted basements around here. So
Yeah, no doubt. This is a nice indoor pool, even if you didn't mean to. Joey, tell us about who you are, and then answer the question: would you do this if you were me?
Man, Joey Matthews, the VA loan nerd. Call or text me at 630-235-2405. Find me on the social medias. Is at the VA Loan Nerd, or hang out at the VALoanNerd.com and learn some VA Loan Nerd thing. Answering the question if I would do that, well, I literally tell people, I'm like, dude, I'm not going to project my values on you. I'm a very aggressive person. If you don't buy this house, I honestly probably would. But what I would do does not matter because I'm not you. I see how you spend. Because I get a good financial picture on everybody because I'm running credit. I'm doing all these things. And I'm just blunt. I'm an aggressive person. I like to invest, and buying a house I see as an investment. So yeah, I mean, I'm all in on buying, unless it's like a real pile of turds and it's going to cost way too much money. Then I'm like, it's not. That juice ain't worth the squeeze, my man. But yeah.
Yeah, it's. I think the four of us are kind of landing in the same place, which is, you can ask that question, but because we have the experience that we do, we're probably going to answer a different question for you, and it'll be for everyone's benefit. Now, the thing I talked about when we first kicked off was the storms that we recently had. Sunday and Monday, we had the tornado sirens go off, which is always exciting.
That's right.
What I should have done, instead of continue to play Fortnite on my couch on the 12th floor of my building, I should have gone to the very first floor and found an area where there's no windows to be blown out. I did not do that because I have lived in Chicago most of my life, and I don't take those things as seriously as I should. But one thing that comes to mind, okay, so Tim, when I think about having a property inspected once I'm under contract, I actually want to have that inspection like that Tuesday morning, because a lot of warts are going to be uncovered by a storm like this. Am I crazy, or is
definitely. I mean, this was a little unconventional for storms, 2 days in a row. I mean, if we were to come out there, the day after, 2 big storms like this, yeah, it might be expected. There might be some shingles blown off the roof, things like that. Things that don't happen with normal storms. This isn't. We're not talking about like normal wear and tear here. We got hit really hard. So,
yeah, if you're gonna find water, it's gonna be then, right?
Yes, exactly.
Jonathan, you got any thoughts on that? Am I crazy?
I feel my heart goes out to all those agents who had those inspections the next day. But that shingle was there on Thursday. I'll tell you right now that we had all the shingles. Yeah, this is, that's right. And I think people are kind of unaware about, just weather patterns affect real estate too. You really want that inspection right after a heavy rain if you can score it. You want that open house on maybe a rainy day. Because you're not competing with all the great Chicago summer weather at the time. So that can be counterintuitive for clients sometimes. It's a thing that because we have all seasons and we do have heavy snow, you get clients who come from LA or from out of the country, and you're like, hey, I know you like this commute now because it's close to public, but when you add 3 feet of snow for, 2 weeks of the year cumulatively or something, are you going to like it as much? So just things that people have to think of. And of course, as we move into the brave new future of Chicago,
snow.
Yeah, we may.
Let's not even go there.
Yeah,
those snow plows are gonna. I don't know. They're just gonna be safety barriers.
Yeah. But that's weather matters.
Yeah, I mean, and that sort of leads me into the discussion about the big scary thing of water, right? I think that by and large here in the Chicago area, we do have a lot of subsurface living space. Over the course of the last, I don't know, 75 years, we've discovered we can actually make that basement into they call it a man cave. I'm sort of over that term. I don't have a basement either, but it definitely is something that people have to really consider strongly as far as, what do I need to do to keep this basement dry? Can I keep this basement dry? What are some of the things, Tim, that you're usually looking for to determine? Because let's say we didn't have that big storm and it's been dry for a couple of weeks. What are you looking for?
Yeah, so for one, I mean, that big storm's kind of like an easy layup for us. If we see water, it's an easy sign. Sometimes when it's been dry for a while, we see water stains, and it's kind of just like, are those from 40 years ago or are those from 6 weeks ago? But so the big storms are pretty easy. But back to your question about just water management, and it's pretty easy to manage, the water around your home. Your home is designed as a system, or with a bunch of different systems to work together to manage, the water. You have a roof with most of the time asphalt shingles, which shed water. It sheds water to a gutter system, which channels it to collect it all in one place, puts it towards downspouts, and gives you the opportunity to take it away from the foundation. If all these systems work together as they're supposed to, that should get the water away from your home. A lot of what we see is just kind of neglected maintenance with, gutters that are clogged, things like this, downspouts that have fallen off, and then water just kind of pools right at the foundation. And when water sits there right against your foundation, it just holds itself as hydrostatic pressure and eventually just forces its way in.
Yeah, I think a common misconception is that your basement is watertight. And the news is that it's not. That joint between the basement slab and your foundation is not a sealed joint. If you were to dissect that, you would see that there's what they would have done is dug a hole for the foundation. They would have laid some footings upon which you've got your foundation walls, and they don't pour that slab until after all that's done.
Well, one critical step you're kind of missing there is that when they pour those foundation walls, they have to dig out a perimeter of about 2 to 4 feet outside of there in order to put the forms in. So after the foundation is poured, they backfill it. So that's a lot. That's a perimeter of looser soil around everything that's like been compacted for a millennium. So
yeah, and it settles down, and then you'll end up with a negative slope toward your home, which is then leading toward the water being deposited right at the foot of your foundation, which is creating that hydrostatic pressure, which is going to push that water under the footing and into the basement. So for the tens of you who are listening right now, you learned something. Although most of them are like home inspectors, and other real estate professionals. They're probably like, yeah, no kidding. I almost said a naughty word, but I'm not Charlie. So,
but clients don't know that. They've only thought about buying a home just in the last few months. They're not taking in. They don't look at a home the same way. They aren't aware of the things that can go wrong. And I think up front, that's why it's so important to dispel certain myths. Your home is not waterproof. You want to buy a submarine, that's a sub. This should be, it should repel water, and you can tell when you go up to a home and the homeowner has put in the time and the effort to learn the house and take care of it, because we all get busy. But when I walk up to a home and I see the grade, or I see they've extended the gutters path, they understand how water's flowing, they've got certain types of plants planted in certain places. But okay, so this is a home whose outside is working in conjunction with it. Somebody thought a lot about this. This is a home I feel much better about, especially because maybe my clients are older. I know they're not going to be keen to jump on a roof and scurry up and fix something, because I took the time to understand what this home is supposed to provide for them. Maybe it's a younger couple and, he really sees himself as being handy. That conversation has come up a lot of time, and he really looks for, great, you relish a project. I could probably get a quote unquote deal on this house. Your first project is you're going to need to talk to some trades and get, X, Y, and Z fixed. And you should be as proactive as you want. And they can relish that and they can be into it. But that's why it's important to understand how this home fits in their lifestyle.
Yes, something I didn't fully appreciate until more recently is just how many pieces of the exterior of the home are specifically designed to shed water away from that foundation. I think that the conventional wisdom, or at least mine, was that, look, a leaky basement is a problem in the basement, which is not necessarily the case. If your gutter system is broken and it's not taking that water that is falling on the roof, especially with a heavy rain, that can be quite a bit of water. You don't necessarily realize, because it's spread out. If it's not directing the water away from the home, and if you're in a suburban subdivision, they will have engineered that entire parcel, that entire subdivision will be engineered to direct water all the way down into a certain spot. Usually there's a retention pond that is meant to hold the water so that it doesn't all go directly to the water treatment plant and overwhelm the water treatment plant.
Yeah, absolutely.
But if you short circuit it at the gutter system or at that point, you've sort of you have a slide that doesn't have a place to get into the slide.
Yeah, so like you were saying, like in the suburbs, the houses are built with a channel in between the houses, which is a great situation. But to back what I was talking about earlier, I was saying, get those downspouts out like 2 to 4 feet around that perimeter area. Well, guess what? In the city, that's your neighbor's house, and your neighbor's gutters are coming to your house. So you have to get creative in some situations and just figure out how to get the water away.
I'm pretty sure I lost a listing a few months back. They disappeared on me, but they had bought a lemon. They did not get good counsel. But one of the situations had some major water issues that came up when I was kind of initially looking at the house. And really, the problem was the homes were so close together. Yeah. Their neighbor's house had no gutters. Oh, and they do not like their neighbor. And the neighbor clearly, I'm assuming, making the probably doesn't have the money to fix up that based on the other hand. So it's like, what do you do in that situation where your water problem is actually on someone else's property lines? And and if you don't have that relationship, you're going to continuously have this ongoing situation because your house, maybe more or less in good shape, built properly, but all that water's coming right because it's so close together.
You can easily, litigate something like a tree on your neighbor's property that's growing and causing damage to your property. But when you have water from your neighbor's
I can't
property
make you put gutters on necessarily. That's a problem.
Uh-huh.
And so that resulted in mold and other stuff. I just had to tell them honest, like I can't. If I see it, I can't cover it. I'm like, listen, you got to fix this. You got to do this because I ain't gonna sell his house and pretend like it because that's me. I can't. I feed my family on my license. So, needless to say, I don't think that went as well as they hoped that meeting was gonna go. But I told them, like, if it was me, this is what it's going to take to fix it, and you need to fix it properly, and you need to disclose these things. And then we could probably get the deal done. I don't think that's what they wanted to hear, but. It is a classic example of one, it's important to know your neighbor, and two, it's important to kind of size up what problems could be a result of that.
Yeah, definitely.
Something we talk about a lot is, how do you have these kinds of conversations with clients, or in this case, it was a potential client, and something that Charlie and I we typically we butt heads about a little bit is Charlie. God bless him. He wants to save the world, and he wants to have the perfect words to talk to someone like that so that they finally understand. And from my perspective, I've reached the conclusion that not everyone is a good match for doing what's right. If people have a certain idea about how things are going to go, if that client is like, look, I appreciate what you're saying about all that, but that's not, we're looking to maximize our return on this, and we're moving away to some other place and to never be heard from again. You're not the right fit for them, is the way I see it. Sometimes you almost have to, fire the client beforehand, just knowing that this is probably not someone who is going to be a good fit, for me either. And that's the beauty of being, someone who's been in the business long enough, has a track record, a reputation, that has value, and it is definitely worth protecting.
Yeah. And I felt so bad actually during that meeting too, because not only had they had a representation of it was a friend of theirs who was a realtor, which you hear all the time. Things should have been called out during that inspection after that as well. Things should have been called out by the city before, they got their certificate. There's things involving the stair railing. Like, how did this get, how did you get to the point where you lived here for years and then called me to sell? Because this person had been somehow, failed many steps of the way. And that's, I come in, trying to be, on, above board. And I was bearer of a lot of bad news that they were unaware of.
Debbie Downer over there, but hey, it gives someone like Tim plenty of work to do at the inspection.
Well, back, God, I don't even remember when, but when the market was the opposite way, we would occasionally do sellers inspections where sellers would bring us in to kind of help them prep the house for sale. And
you don't see much of that.
Oh, never. It's been been a while.
It's really bizarre that you do not have your own inspection and you don't have your own appraisal. But that would be you spending upfront money, and that people, again, kind of understanding behavioral psychology, just averse to that.
And yet, to me, trying to introduce seller inspections, that's just a money grab by building inspectors, in my opinion.
When the market flips and you really have to, push your product to sell it, it can really help to point some things out,
It's definitely worth pointing out that, we live in a specific time, right? And if you talk to, depending on who you talk to, they may not have been through other real estate markets, and I have similar blind spots, right? Like we talk about markets being up, markets being down. If you've never seen a down market for sellers, you won't know what it looks like. You won't be able to perceive it. You won't be able to feel it. I went through 04, 05. I graduated law school in 03. Got licensed, started my first job in '04. I saw '04 through '06, and I was like, wow, I'm never buying a house. I had those feelings. I can completely empathize with all of the young people today who are looking at that going, it's just not going to happen for me. But lo and behold, and please do not confuse this with me saying, yeah, we're going to have an '07, '08, '09 again. That ain't it. That ain't it at all. The numbers don't support it. Nothing is like, I mean, I've been seeing some creators on social media sort of alluding to that being the case. You better stop yourself. You better stop yourself. It's not here in Chicago. That's not happening. But at some point in time, and I can't predict when, the when is the key as far as being able to take advantage of it, the tables will turn, and we will see a situation where it is now sellers who are the desperate ones, and multiple offers. Are you kidding me? I would like one offer. That'd be fantastic.
And it's why it's so important to treat peers with that respect too, because you don't remember, you haven't been in the business long enough to remember how bad it was when it was, I had 32 people make an offer, 33 offers on home not too long ago, and the disappointing people is something we don't talk about in this business too. You got to disappoint a lot of people, and that's rough. But there's a lot of things that you can do to ingratiate yourself and be the change that you want to see, and how you handle those situations. I do think come back when the market flips and they remember you, and how you handle that.
It's not you, it's me.
Okay.
Oh boy. Well, this is all fun stuff. I have so much more to say, but alas, we are nearing the end of our allotted time. Tim, if you wouldn't mind introducing yourself for one last time for the people who are late to the game, tell us about your business and whatever else you got to say.
Hey everybody, I'm Tim Heiss. I'm an inspector, home inspector in the Chicagoland area. We work for Chicagoland Home Inspectors. Our website's thehomeinspectors.com. You can book with us through the website or through 312-544-9180. And I love inspecting homes. It's a new adventure every day. Never know what we're walking into. Some kind of cool new technology of new home construction, or some cool historic vintage stuff, and every day is a new adventure.
Or a horrific crawl space. Jonathan, tell us about you.
We don't talk about those.
My name is Jonathan Self. I'm in Chicago, realtor in the Chicago area. You can find me at sell-by-design. I'm married to a general contractor, interior designer, so we're kind of like a reverse gender HGTV show situation over there. But she's a great resource, and yeah, that's my business: sell, buying, and design, and that's what we do.
So progressive, perfect for 8:20 a.m. where facts matter. Joey, tell us about you and your Cybertruck, you creep.
You're a nerd. Joey Matthews, Cybertruck owner, that's about to have a huge VA loan nerd wrap on it with a QR code.
Ooh, did you get it wrapped?
Me on the internet. It's getting wrapped. So the wrap is out of production tomorrow, and then they're going to wrap it next week.
I can't wait to make fun of you about that. Continue, please.
Oh, it's going to be great. Anyway, so the VA loan nerd, as you'll be able to see down the streets of Arizona, if you see that black Cybertruck with VA loan nerd, that's me. Anyway, 630-235-2405. Check out the VALoanNerd.com. Watch me yell at a camera for no reason at the VA Loan Nerd on all the social medias.
That's what's up. I actually saw a Cybertruck on my way over here, and I cut him off like 3 times just to spite, because I'm like that.
Did you cold roll him in your EV?
I don't know. Is that like an EV term I don't know yet?
Dude, yeah, go look it up, man. I get cold rolled all the time now that I drive that thing.
Cold rolled. I got to look that up.
Cold roll.
All right. My name is Patrick Loftus. I'm a real estate lawyer. Loftus Law is my law firm. Hire me if you're selling your house or you're buying a house. I'll help things go smoothly. That has been the Homebuyers Hour, or the Homebuyers 54 Minutes. It's been great having y'all, and come find us at thehomebuyershour.com. And that's it. See y'all later.